taught you, please, who taught you to hate the texture of your hair? Who taught you to hate the color of your skin to such an extent that you bleach to get like the white man?
Well, but he's just not a teacher. Black people now want to be taught. They don't want to be just spoken to. They want to learn something now. They want to clear the smoke.
So what is his purpose?
You have to ask him that. You can't ask me what his minutes of fire conference. You have to go to him and ask him that.
Peace to the planet. Peace to the planet. Peace, peace, peace. I know, surprise, surprise, right? Surprise, surprise. I just pop out. I just pop out on y'all. Keep y'all on y'all toes. As soon as y'all think, like, damn, where M.O.I at? Where you at? Where you at? Or maybe not. Maybe I'm making it all up. I don't know. Pen and pad gang, definitely in the building. Definitely in the building. I tried to share this on the Facebook group. Shouts out to Infomonger in the building. I tried to share this live to the Facebook group joint, or at least I dropped the link in there, so you know what I'm saying. Infomonger in the building. Charlie Brown was in the building. So listen, I have been on this quest, and I know Black History Month is coming up soon. Everybody's favorite month, for whatever reason, is coming up soon. I know Black History Month coming up soon, or whatever the case is. So I was like, let me get started. Oh, okay, they got the link. Bet. Islam, they got the link. That's what's up. So I was like, I know Black History Month coming up, and I've been having several conversations with various people from different parts of Africa, because I go to the gym, and a lot of those people, there are a lot of foreigners that go to the gym, and I probably had peace and light, peace and light, peace and light. Everybody come on in the room. Make sure y'all share this shit, man. Like whatever all y'all just hit the share button. And let's usher people on up in here, because it's gonna be a good session tonight. I'm in a good mood tonight. But I'm in the gym, and I'm talking to this one guy. Of course, he's from Africa, and he and I were having this conversation, and he is telling me, you know, based on the story, that all people of color come out of Africa. You know, at least in the Americas. And y'all already know, when he started a conversation about all the so-called Black people in North America are from Africa, I began to ask him the questions of, when did they get here? Like, you know, when did they get here? Of course, you know, the most famous answer is 1619, of course. That's the most famous answer, 1619. And I proceeded to ask his brother, I said, so what were the Africans doing when they came to America in 1619? What type of, like, what were they doing? And he was like, what you mean? What were the Africans in North America doing in 16 whatever? What were they doing? Because what we have to keep in mind is the Virginia Company didn't get here into the 1600s, 1619. This is the Virginia Company. These are the what will later develop into the Virginia Assembly and so on and so on. But these are companies. The Philadelphia Company. Matter of fact, let's just pull it up real quick, and we'll come back to this right here because I have to have a starting point. Let's look up the Virginia Company. Hold on. Sorry. Oh, I might as well type it in. Here we go. Well, we see the Virginia slave codes pop right up. Let's go to Virginia Company. The Virginia Company of London. Here we go. So we're talking about Africans coming to North America, and the question is, what were these Africans doing? Because I know they show you the pictures of so-called Negroes in the cotton fields. In some type of way, in your mind, you're linking that to slavery, as is being described of slave ships coming from Africa to the Americas. I'm going to continue to teach you guys this. These are two separate events, same atrocities. In fact, the later slave trade that happened in America that we're going to cover, which all your movies are showing, movies such as Amistad, movies, such as Amistad, movies such as 12 Years a Slave, movies such as Django, Roots, all those movies, except for Amistad, but all those slave movies, Django, I know, man. I know. Yo, Young Payola, what's good? Hit that share button, man. Let's get these likes up, man. We're in the building, man. Let's go. Well, I'm gonna talk my shit tonight. You know what I'm saying? I ain't been on here in a minute. So y'all already know what the rules and regulations are. Get your pen and your paper, get your pencil and your paper, pen and pad gang, check in, tap in one time, pen and pad gang in the building, take notes. Don't believe a word I say. I'm not here to convince anybody. I'm not here to persuade you. This is just information. Take your notes, go do your own research. Then this shit becomes something that you know, not something you heard. I'm not here to entertain nobody. This is school. This is a school session. This is Wednesday night class, Wednesday night history class. We're going to go for about an hour, hour and a half. Whatever the spirit leads us, that's what we're going to go in tonight. So take notes. If you want to have a scholarly conversation, a scholarly debate with the people of color who think that we come from Africa, all of us, some did. I'm going to show you some that really did. I'm not saying nobody did, but some did. Okay. So that's not what I'm saying. But we're going to talk tonight about the story as it relates to history. So anybody tell you that Africans came out of Africa to North America, you're going to ask them these three questions. Y'all ready? Write down, when did they come over here? And you're asking when to find out what timestamp the person talking to you is going to put you in. I'm going to teach you how to get around this stuff and teach you how to teach them based on a timeline, a trajectory, or a linear timeline. That's what we're going to learn to do right here, time and space. Hey, peace and light, peace and love. Peace and light. Oh, we tapping in. It's happening. Here we go. All right. So the first question you asked them about these Africans who came to North America, you asked them when. Make them give you a timestamp. Okay. Ask them where. Where were they brought to? Where, when, and where. And the last question you're going to ask them is who. Who was brought here? And who brought them here? Okay. You're going to ask them when, where were they brought to, who were brought here, and who brought them here. And you just sit and wait. You don't have to argue. You don't have to yell. You don't have to debate. Let them build the Venus flytrap on themselves. If they tell you 16 anything, Let's read about the Virginia Company of London. It was a powerful English joint stock company. We're talking about business, stocks, trades, assets, property. Okay? The same shit is going on right now with Trump and Venezuela. Piracy. We're going to talk about piracy. We'll talk about maritime operation, admiralty laws. We're going to talk about all that stuff as it relates to history. So you can see there's nothing new under the sun that's happening. The Virginia Company, chartered by King James I in 1606 to establish profitable colonies in North America. That's the whole point of the 13 colonies, for profitability, to build wealth for London, for England, to build the wealth. Bring it to current news. The conversation is going that Trump took the oil or gold from Venezuela, but guess who had the gold in the safes? It was in Europe. Europe has the wealth. Okay? America is the military, North America anyway, is the military to protect that wealth. Listen to what they were doing. The Virginia Company, they didn't start off this situation with slavery and the 13 colonies and Africans getting brought from Africa over to America. It had nothing to do with race or hatred or white people don't like black people and all this crazy shit. It was dealing with profitability. It was dealing with money, dealing with that mignon. The Virginia Company of London was a powerful English joint stock company chartered by King James I in 1606 to establish profitability in the colonies in North America, leading to England's first permanent settlement in Jamestown in 1607. So we know that nobody was even over here prior to 1607 of worth mentioning. Not yet. We're going to deal with the Spanish in a second, who was here in the 1500s. Not yet, okay? To find gold, new trade route, resources, though it faced immense challenges, those are the Indian wars we're talking about, ultimately failing financially by 1624, despite laying the groundwork for American colonization. Y'all see that? Now, let's see how these Europeans, we're going to write down this name, write down a baron, B-A-R-O-N, baron. We'll come back to that word in a second. What were some of the key aspects? The formation, the goals, the establishment, the challenges, the structure, decline, and dissolution. The formation was a joint stock company pooling money from many investors, many of them. They're putting money behind it. These investors are putting money behind it, lots of money, to share the risk and profits following models like the East Indian Company. That's another one that was getting spices and teas. Now, they don't have sugar yet, okay? They're drinking tea, the Indian Tea Company. I'll show you in a second. But they don't have sugar yet. Sugar is coming, though, okay? To fund exploration and settlement. The goals were to find gold and silver, claim land for England, discover northwest passages to Asia, establish markets, provide raw materials such as timber and minerals, and convert Native Americans to Christianity. Those were the goals. The London Company, a division of a larger Virginia company, founded Jamestown, Virginia in 1607, the first successful English colony in the world. Okay? Now, that's what we know for sure. This shit was about money, finance, capital, nothing to do with black people, white people. Okay? Now, let's go here. Let's go find out about this King James, because it says King James chartered this joint English stock company. Let's find out the ship that he had. Watch this. This is called the African. Look, let's pay attention, okay? Well, let me give you some more so you can see this for real. This is called the African Trade Company. Notice we ain't said nothing about what nobody is, status, none of this shit yet. We're talking about capital, money, finance. The same way we talk about stocks on the Wall Street stock market today. We're talking just finance, just money. That's all we're talking right now. The African Trade Company was most often referred to as the Royal African Trade Company, a major English slaving company chartered in 1672. You see how that worked? You see how we went from 1624? Write this down, y'all. I'm going to teach y'all the timelines. So anybody of any worth tell you that Africans were brought to North America, it has to be North America, by the way, not South or Central. North America, any Africans that were brought to North America prior to what we're talking about of any substance in the colonies, other than the 1539-29 colony established by Spaniards, by Spain. We're not talking about that. We're only talking about Europe, England right now. We're not talking about Spain. Of course, Spain was here way prior. They tried to set up a colony down in Georgia and South Carolina. It didn't work out for them very well. At this particular time, 1672, Spain only has possession of Florida at this time in 1672. We're going to see progression in history of the next 45 years to next 45 to 56 years. We're going to see various charters and land documents. I'm going to show you the charters and the land documents and who. If you remember one of my lectures before, I talked about the three kings. So write down these three kings. It's going to be important. James, we're talking about James as right now. So James, Charles, George. Those are the three kings you want to deal with, okay? James, Charles, George. We're talking about James right now. Now, if we had a map, King James would from Virginia up to Massachusetts. Okay, of course, he gives Pennsylvania to William Penn, and William Penn sets up an establishment of Quakers who became your first slave abolitionists. They were totally against slavery in the fashion that we knew it. In fact, I'm going to show you the first all-black colonial school. Why is it important? Because they tell us that we couldn't read or write, supposedly. I'm going to show you. Watch this. I think I'm playing. Man, if we just slow down and do the research and stop listening to what people are telling you, let's finish this real quick. It says the African Trade Company, most often referred to as the Royal African Company, a major English slaving company chartered in 1672 by the Stuart monarchy. Who established this trade company? The Stuart monarchy. You may ask yourself, well, who the hell was the Stuart monarchy? The Stuart monarchy was the entire family of King James and them, which ushered in what was known as the Tudor dynasty. Was King James of Negro descent? Yes, he was. I know. I'm going to let that sink in for a minute. You see that logo up there? You see those logos? Watch this. Let me show you something on these royal crests. These royal crests you're seeing right here. It's all right here. This is the royal crest of the Stuart dynasty. Let's pull it up. Watch this. This is the African Trade Company. Watch this. The Stuart. I'm messing that up. Dynasty family crest. See? This is the House of Stuart family crest right here with the lion and the unicorn. You see that royal mask right here in front, right there? See that? Right here. This is the Stuart family. So you want to write down the Stuart family. Watch this. Oh my God, man. I got to get my mic turned on. I can move faster. King James. Tudor. Stuart. I know. He's whitewashed. Dodge the hijack. He's completely whitewashed. Dodge the freaking hijack. Trust me. King James Stuart, known as James VI of Scotland and James I of England. And we can go into the whole history, not tonight though, the whole history of the so-called Negroes of Scotland from Queen Scotia. Okay, all the way back to Queen Scotia. If you don't know who Queen Scotia is, write that down. Research Queen Scotia of Scotland. This is King James. Sixth of Scotland, first of England, was the first Stuart monarch to rule both kingdoms, uniting them under one crown after the Tudor dynasty ended with Elizabeth I, 1603, establishing the line in England overseeing the union of crowns, commissioning the King James Bible, and dealing with significant events like gunpowder plot, bridging the end of the Tudor era with the Stuart age. The parents, Mary, Queen of Scotland, Henry Stuart, Lord Darnell. Scottish reign became King James VI of Scotland at 13 months old in 1567 after his mother's abduction. And we won't get into all of the family affairs. It'll be a long night. King James, was he white? We can't say white. We can't say black in this time period, family. Let me show you why you can't use the term black and how you lose people when you try to say the word black as it relates to the 17th century. Etymology of black. This is important. Now we're dealing with language, okay? This is also important, all right? Watch the language and apply the language to the time frame. This is the only way you get to have this conversation with people and you make it out being the hero if you understand the language of that time frame. The word black comes from Old English, bleak, rooted in Proto-Germanic block, meaning burned. Ultimately, from Proto-Indo-Europe, it's showing the progression of where it came from going backwards. So it ended up meaning burned and a Proto-Germanic, but it goes backwards. It says from Proto-Indo-European, bleed, meaning to burn, gleam, or shine. Interestingly, related to ancient words, meant pale or white, referring to the brightness of a fire, with English black meaning dark, eventually supplanting the older swart. We want to stop right there. Swart, because I can show you Swarty Pete. Watch this. And this is what they still pick at the Moors for right now. See if they let me see it. You pull up Swarty Pete, you're going to see blackface. You're going to see this right here. Smutty. They're picking at the skin tone of the Moors. The word swart, which is going to take us into the word Stuart and swarthy. Watch this now. See? Swarthy Pete. Write that down. Swertepet. Swarthy Pete. It's with a Z. Zwart Pete. Swart Pete. You see what came up? Now, watch this. I think it's swarthy. Swarthy. Definition, swarthy. Dark skin. Are you keeping up so far? We are tracing the language. Swarthy. We got swarthy, right? Now watch this. I put in was King James swarthy. That's what we're looking at. This is Charles. Charles was definitely black. He was called the little black boy. I'm trying to find more information on King James. Okay, let's go with this. Let's go with this. It says historical records generally do not describe King James as having swarthy complexion. This term was more famously associated with his grandson, who was black. You got to dodge the hijack when you're reading this stuff and going through this stuff. I'm telling you, man, they will F you up if you don't understand the language. It said King James' appearance, however, contemporary accounts and portraits typically show James with fair or ruddy complexion. He had red hair because he was from Scotland. The red hair comes from Scotland. We'll talk about that at a later time. He had red hair inherited from Stuart in Tudor lines and was described as having a well-proportioned body and strong limbs. This is confusion with Charles II. The term swarthy, a well-documented historical description of Charles II, was complexity was said to be resembled that of an Italian grandmother, Mary de Medici. All right. Some modern Afrocentric theories argue that European monarchs, including the Stuarts, were originally of African descent and that their portraits were later whitewashed. This theory is often pointed out with the name Stuart or Black. Ancestors. Historically, James' lineage is recorded as European with Scottish, English, and French roots. He is the son of Mary, Queen of Scots and Henry, blah, 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 blah. What was another one? Swarthy skin. King James wasn't black. Some theories suggest he had darker features, such as swarthy, potentially refer to him as Mediterranean complexion or darker with hair. With swarthy, sometimes used metaphorically to describe darker traits compared to the older royal like Charles, whose nickname was the Black Boy. So it's going to continue to defer us back to his grandson, Charles, who was clearly black. But his granddaddy, James, is saying not black. The point is this. The point is this. James, the African Trade Company, the Royal African Company. Oh, that's way small. Hold on, y'all. This is the original House of Stuart. This is the original House of Stuart. This is their shield. This is their crest. This is the symbol of the Royal African Company. We talked about the Virginia Company, the Philadelphia Company. These are companies. The point I'm making is this was entrepreneurs. A bunch of entrepreneurs were getting together. I showed you the Virginia Company. This is the Royal African Company. Was an English trading company established in 1660 by the House of Stuart. So King James' entire bloodline, including his black grandson Charles II. Okay, in the city of London, merchants to trade along West African coast. It was overseen by the Duke of York, the brother of Charles II, the Black Boy. Charles II, the Black Boy of England. The Royal African Company was founded after Charles II ascended to England's throne. So now Charles II, who's going to set up Carolina, King James set up the Virginia up to Massachusetts, okay, the Eastern Seaboard, they call it. And then here come Charles is going to set up the Carolinas. And then later you're going to get George is going to set up Georgia or give the charter for Georgia to be established by James Oglethorpe. Sorry about that. The Royal African Company was after Charles II ascended to English throne in 1660. Stuart Restoration, and he granted a monopoly on all English trade with Africa, while the company's original purpose was to trade gold in the Gambian River, as Prince Rupert of the Rhine had identified gold deposits in the region during the interagreement of the Royal African Company. The Royal African Company. Remember earlier I told you to ask those questions. Who? This is your who. So when you have your conversation with people who saying that black people came from Africa to America, Now you're able to intelligently tell them we're actually in 1660. There were until 1660. We're talking about North America. We're not talking about Central and South America. They've been shipping Africans over for a long time at this point. By 1660, Spain had been, put it like this, Spain had already been taking people away from Americas into the Americas since the late 1400s, like 1498, 1499, 1500s. They've been doing it. This is only talking about Europe. Okay, so now we got that established. We got the Royal African Company. We have another individual we have to write down. We're talking about who brought them, who gave the black bodies away. In the comments right now, make sure y'all pay attention. In the comments, who do y'all think gave the Africans away? I say gave away because the Europeans could not go into Africa. They would die from malaria. Y'all think those white boys, y'all think a bunch of white boys ran up in Africa and just snatched Negroes out the villages? Do y'all really think that? If you think that happened, why are they telling you that these same white boys came on the coast of America and they died and they were riddled with diseases from the Native Americans? We're not talking about the Trail of Tears and the smallpox blanket. We're talking about the fact when they arrived to Virginia, most of them were sick and they died immediately coming on shore. You got to think where these Europeans came from. Thank you. Somebody been paying attention. Thank you. Queen Nzinga. Right. Queen Nzinga gave over those bodies. Here's what you should know about Queen Nzinga. I'm not going to go all the way into it because I don't discuss her so many times before. Queen Nzinga. Write down Queen Nzinga. Write down Angola. Angola. Now, she mostly supplied Spain, the Spaniards, and the Portuguese. By the time she got that going and the Royal African Company came on the scene in the later 1660s, they had a good thing going already with shipping bodies out. So Queen Nzinga, write down Angola. That's important. Okay. How many? Watch this. How many Africans did Queen Nzinga? Nzinga. Write these numbers down too, family, please. Queen Nzinga was involved in the slave trade, selling hundreds of thousands of captives. That's what they call them, captives. The same thing that happened to your people over here in North America. Once the Europeans came, they became captives, or as Abe Lincoln liked to call them, commodities of war. Okay, Queen Nzinga. Some sources suggested over 200,000. Close enough. You said 300,000, sis. That's close enough. 200,000. She sold off 200,000. Just a hair under 250,000 Africans were sold by other Africans right to the Portuguese. And these Portuguese and these Spaniards are not the people you think they are. These were Africans selling other Africans to other Africans. I'm gonna say that one more time. Ed, what's up, man? What you mean?
I packed my lunch in the refrigerator. Okay,
I'll check you out in a second. I'll be done in a minute. I'll see what you got, okay?
I got some Starburst cookies there and some.
Come on. I'm sorry, gang. Come on. All right. Lay down, because you speaking. All right, so basically, Queen Nzinga sold 200,000 Africans to other Africans. All right, who are these other Africans? Let's take a look. Juan Garrido. Let's start with him. Let's start with people like him. Write them down. These are the Portuguese and the Spaniards they're talking about. These are the Portuguese and the Spaniards they mentioned. This is Juan Garrido. I'm gonna show you another one too. Juan Guardito was a Afro-Spaniard. The Afro-Spaniards were the actual Portuguese and the Spaniards. They call them Afro-Spaniards instead of calling them Moors. Of Congo origin, he was a conquistador. You know about the conquistadors, right? Conquistadors were Spanish and Portuguese colonizers who explored, traded, and conquered parts of America, Africa, Asia, and Oceania during the Age of Discovery, selling beyond the Iberian Peninsula. They established numerous blah 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 blah. The Iberian Peninsula should look familiar to you because the Iberian Peninsula is what the Moors rule. These are Moors. These are black Moors who now are becoming conquistadors. Not becoming, they are conquistadors. These are other Africans assisting other people. Born in the Kingdom of Congo, in West Central Africa, he went to Portugal as a young man and converted to Catholicism. He chose the Spanish name Juan Guardito, Handsome John. He is the first known free African to arrive in North America. Write that down. I'm giving y'all the jewels tonight. It's up to y'all to do this. This is the what? He was known as what? I want y'all to put that shit in the comments. I don't want y'all to miss this. Y'all talking about 1619 Africans being brought to North America. Who was the first known African to arrive in North America? Juan Guardito. Yeah, crazy. Portuguese. Assisting the Spaniards, assisting trafficking those bodies from another African, Queen Nzinga. Crazy work. It's not what they've been telling us. I'm gonna show y'all. We gotta dodge the hijack, man. He participated in the Spanish conquest of Puerto Rico by Juan Ponce de Leon. Ponce de Leon goes on to establish the what is it called, Fort something in Florida. I forgot what it's called. St. Augustine in Florida. And if you're from Atlanta, I've been in Atlanta, you know, it's a Ponce de Leon street on every corner. Ponce de Leon. He became the governor of rich Puerto Rico. Cuba and Diego Vasquez. It's another explorer. They call them explorers. These are fucking frauds. They takers. In the expeditions to Florida by Ponce de Leon in 1519, Guardito joined Cortez. Now, write down Juan Guardito, the black Spaniard, or what they call the dark-skinned conquistador, in the Codex Azteca. Okay, this is the dark-skinned conquistador, Juan Guardito. He assisted Hernán Cortés. Cortés is a key figure. Cortés forces and invades present-day Mexico, participating in the siege of the fall of this right here. And this fall becomes important because you want to know who was the king of this empire right here? Montezuma. If you don't know who King Montezuma is, you may want to research King Montezuma. King Montezuma is mentioned in the Marine Corps anthem. From the shores of Tripoli, from the halls of Montezuma, they say, to the shores of Tripoli. This is the conquering of the empire, the old black Moorish empire. These are Moors who are in cahoots with Portuguese, known as Afro-Spaniards. Now, I'm giving you all this backdrop before we get back over to North America. And I'm trying to create a separation in your mind to show you that Africans brought out of Africa to North America and Africans brought out of Africa to South America. The slave trade that they're portraying of Africans being brought here, in the next scene, they show you a plantation. These are not the same people. Okay, so we got Juan Guardito. There's another one I want to show you if I can. That's Cortez. Who helped? Watch this. That was wrong. Cortez. What's the other? Chat, help me out. What's the other Spanish explorer supposed they came over here? It's Cortez. I can't call his name right now. I'll look it up right quick. If you remember his name, what was his name? Let me see if I just pull it right here. Not the Spanish Inquisition. That's another thing you should know also about the Spanish Inquisition. Like that's the kickoff, but that's in the whole other story. I think explorers. We got Cortez already, right? Besides Cortez. Here we go. De Soto. Yep, De Soto. Here we go. Watch this. Here's your other Black African or your other Spaniard helping out. Watch this. Where's he at? I put who, what, Black. I gotta put Spaniard help him. The primary historical account, chronological written members of the expedition did not typically list the names of the 4 dark-skinned African who were noted as being amongst the 620 Spanish and Portuguese volunteers. Therefore, specific names of Black Spaniards or an Atlantic Creole, enslaved people of Africa descent who accomplished the De Soto expedition were generally not recorded in surviving documents. One well-known Black conquistador, Juan Garrido, helped out Cortez. But what was the guy named who helped out De Soto? Hold on. Let's go down here. They can give it away in here somewhere. And again, I'm giving you guys this all this backdrop because this I promise you it's super important. Dang, man, that's crazy. Translate. Hold on. I haven't did this stuff in so long. Hold on. That's crazy. I'll find it in a second, but go lay down on the couch, baby. Go lay on the couch. Because you're sleepy. Go lay on the couch. I'll look at your lunch in a second. All right. What's his name, man? Maybe I got to call him what he is. Moorish explorer. De Soto. Okay, here we go. There we go. There's your other brother right here who helped De Soto. Took a little bit of digging, but there you go right here. So you saw Juan Garrido, the brother who helped Cortez out. This is the brother who helped out De Soto. De Soto and Cortez. The Moorish explorer who helped out the expedition, Escoban. You see that? These were Blacks helping other Blacks. Maybe that's not enough evidence for you. Maybe you're like, all right, you showed 2 people, 3 people who were somehow involved in the entire thing. Queen Nzinga and these 2 brothers. How about the four Black brothers who helped Columbus come over here? These are the Nino brothers. The Nino brothers were the owners and the captains of the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria. What about these 4 Moorish brothers who helped Columbus over in the first place? we have to like retrain our thinking just a little bit to understand what happened for real. Now let's go back to the 13 colonies. I know. Let's go here. This is the movie Amistad. This is the movie Amistad. This is the movie Amistad. Let's check out Amistad for a second. So you guys can see it. Boom, there we go. Yeah.
They were first detained by officers of a survey brig off the coast of Long Island and only assumed that the charge is murder.
We do hereby claim salvage on the high seas of the Spanish ship La Amistad and all her cargo.
Your Honor, here are the true owners of these slaves.
These slaves, Your Honor, are by rights the property of Spain.
You and this young so-called lawyer have proven you know what they are.
So far, hearing what you just heard, they're property of Spain. I just can't make this shit up. It's crazy. But what I'm trying to show y'all is them portraying the movie Amistad as the transatlantic slave trade. I'm going to show you another movie with similar effects. There's a ship, there's Negroes, there's chains, they're in the bow of the ship. They're just messed up, right? Not the same slave trade. Not the same event at all. Not the same people, not the same event at all. Let's continue watching this trailer.
They're Africans. Congratulations. What you don't know is who they are. You know what they are. They're Africans.
They're Africans. They're Africans. He just said. These are Africans. Now, these are Africans. Watch this. Oh, man. There's so much, y'all.
All I know.
These are not Africans. These are Americans. People of color, bow of ships, on a ship. This movie, 12 Years a Slave, these are not Africans. Amistad, those were Africans. And Amistad was the 1500s. This was this is 1800s right here. This is right after 1803 when they outlawed international shipping importation of people from Africa. This is after this. So again, because we're dealing with psychology, I want to show you guys similar scenes, but not the same people. It looks similar. Similar situation, not the same people. Okay? Everybody who in North America did not come from Africa. These are different diasporas. These are different events. But in our minds, if we've been taught this is all one big same happening from the 1500s through the 1800s. This is all one big happening in our mind. I'm teaching you guys to dodge the hijack. Two different scenarios. He said, these are Africans. We know who they are. We don't know whose they are. Is what he just stated. Let's continue to watch real quick.
You and this young so-called lawyer have proven you know what they are. They're Africans. Congratulations. What you don't know is who they are.
This could take us all one long step closer to civil war.
Immediately surrender these goods!
Our president has appealed the decision to our Supreme Court. We have to try the case again.
I will call into the past and beg my ancestors to come and help me, so that this moment I am the whole reason they have existed at all.
This is the most important case ever come before this court, because what it in fact concerns is freedom, the very nature of man. The very nature of man before this court, because what it in fact concerns.
This scene right here, you guys are not even seeing it. There's two free Negroes right there who are not from Africa at all, portrayed by these two brothers right here. Now, the brother at the end, the African brother, is one on trial. These two brothers are not from Africa. Even within the movie itself, it shows you the information, and we're still choosing to believe that everybody comes out of Africa to North America by way of slavery. Even when we can go look at the numbers, or some of the numbers, people like Queen Nzinga, over a quarter of a million, damn near 200,000. And you'll see a little bit of 200,000, 300,000 here and there. Watch this. We can even go to the numbers. Where is it at? Let's go to the numbers. How many Africans were brought? Around 12.5 million Africans were forcibly transported to the Americas via transatlantic slave trade, with 10.7 million surviving. Of those who landed in America, only roughly 388,000 to 470,000 were brought directly to North America. 388,000 to 470,000. That's below a million were brought directly to North America. The future of the United States, with the vast majority, went into the Brazil and Caribbean. All right. Now watch this. Matter of fact, hold on. I want you guys to please write that number down and put it in the chat right here. Let's just say 470,000. 470,000 who actually came to North America. 470,000 brought directly to North America. Now watch the next question. How many Native Americans were shipped out of America? Watch this. Now I want you to put that number up. I want you to put that, and I'm being respectful. Put that funky ass 470,000 Africans being brought to North America. How many of your people were taken out of North America? Millions of Native Americans forcibly enslaved and shipped out of America between the 15th and 19th century, with estimated range from 2 to 5.5 million people sent to Europe. Sent to European colonies in the Caribbean, Africa, and Asia, while others forcibly moved within America, like 60,000 forced west. Like, they give an example of the Trail of Tears, but it's making a point by saying that although 2 to 5.5 million were shipped to European colonies in the Caribbean and Africa and Asia, while others were forcibly moved within America. Others were forcibly moved. And it gave an example like the 60,000 forced in the Trail of Tears in 1830. So 2 million Native Americans were shipped out of them. Let's say 5.5 million were shipped out. More Native Americans were shipped out of America than Africans put in America. All you got to do is pull the string, family. The shit is unraveled. The whole story will unravel. The shit don't make sense. The math is not mathing. 470,000 Africans gave birth to the entire population of Negroes in North America. Get the fuck out of here, man. Come on. Y'all got to come with something better than that. Y'all got to come with something better than that. When 5 million of the ancestors were shipped out of North America, 5 million were shipped out of North America. Only 470,000 Africans came here. So let's zoom in tighter on who came here. Let's look up the San Juan Bautista. San Juan Bautista. The San Juan Bautista slave ship. Write it down. There's the famous picture right there. That picture was of the San Juan Bautista. That had nothing to do with picking cotton and slavery in America. You see that? Write down San Juan Bautista, family, because I'm going to show you a trick real quick about the San Juan Bautista. The San Juan Bautista was a Portuguese slave ship in 1619. So the chances are the people on this ship in 1619 probably came from where? It says it right there, Angola. Remember earlier with Queen Nzinga, I was telling you to write down the word Angola. I'm going to put it in the chat for you. Angola. We're talking about Angolans. Angolans. It says the San Juan Bautista was a Portuguese slave ship in 1619 that carried around 350 Angolans towards Mexico. They were taking these Africans to Mexico, but attacked by an English privateer ship called the White Lion, who stole about 60 captives and took them to Port Comfort, Virginia. 60 captives were taken to Port Comfort, Virginia. We're talking about 1619. So write down 1619 on your paper, please, class. Write the word Angolans underneath that. And you're going to write San Juan Bautista. These are Portuguese, by the way. These are Portuguese, okay? Let's look up the White Lion now. White Lion slave ship. The White Lion was an English privateer ship. You can learn about privateers too. This was going on right now with Trump and his oil trade out there in the fucking ocean. You have privateers, then you have pirates, then you have buccaneers also. Just like you have cowboys and wranglers. It's all different titles of what they do. But anyway, the White Lion was an English privateer ship that brought the first recorded Africans to England main colonies in North America. We know these are not the first because Juan Gordito is the first recorded African in America. Remember Juan Gordito? Who's the first? Who's the last? Who the hell knows? These were the first. It says, check this out. Landing in Port Comfort, now called Hampton, Virginia, shouts out to 757, in the late August of 1619, marking a pivotal, though initially ambiguous, beginning of race-based bondage. Write down the word race-based bondage in 1619. Race-based bondage, because I'm going to give you the Angolan mother sucker who gave them the idea in a second, okay? 20 odd Africans captured by the Spanish slave ship, the San Juan Bautista, were traded for supplies, initially a system that evolved from indentured servitude into chattel slavery, profoundly shaping American history. This was the first idea of exchanging bodies for goods. Yes. This was the first time they started to exchange bodies for goods, because prior to that, they were bringing in labor. The Africans who came to South America and the adjoining islands were brought as laborers. That's it. They weren't trading shit. It was not a trade yet. This was the first kickoff of the trade. The idea, give me 3 bodies, I give you 2 barrels of wheat or 2 barrels of whatever the fuck, gunpowder, whatever. I just give you 2 bags of flour for one of those laborers. Okay? This is the first time that a labor exchange happened. 1619. In 1619, you had 20 Angolans, because now we know who. Remember those questions? Who, where, when. So beside when, 1619. Where, Hampton, Virginia. Who, Angolans. Do you know who else was in Virginia colonies in the 16 1620. Watch this. Anthony Johnson. Where was he from? Motherfucking Angola. These are Angolans. These are Africans in America, not African Americans. You know, such thing as African Americans. These are Africans in America, just like Juan Guaido, just like Escobar, just like the Nino brothers, just like all the motherfuckers, James, Charles, and George. Charles, the black boy, setting up the Carolina colonies. About to get to Carolina in a second. Right now, we're still in Maryland and we're still in Virginia right now. We got the Virginia companies establishing charters and companies being financed by barons or Lombards. They call them Lombards or capitalists. These are the Sephardic Jews of Spain. Sephardic Jews of Spain, known as barons, B-A-R-O-N, a baron, who are in cahoots with the crown to set up these companies to exchange people. They're gambling. They're placing their bets. And if you wanted to come over to the New World, part of the contract was you work for 7 years as an indentured servant. After 7 years, they would give you what was called heads right. Heads right. Let me look it up for you real quick so you can write it down. Heads right. Not homestead. Homestead was later. Heads right system, a colony land grant policy. Write this shit down. Heads rights was a system of a colonial land grant policy starting in Jamestown, Virginia in 1618. 1618, 1619, 1621. Watch this. They gave the settlers typically 50 acres, 40 acres in the mule. Get the fuck out of here. They gave them more than that in the beginning. 50 acres of land for paying their way to the New World or paying for someone else's passage, aiming to boost the population and labor for tobacco. While it grew colonies by attracting immigrants and indentured servants, it entrenched a wealthy landowner elite. This is the landowners. They start making rules like shit, like you gotta be a landowner to vote. You gotta own some land to be able to do such and such, so and so forth, right? It also entrenched a wealthy landowner elite, exacerbated social division, eventually contributing to the expansion of slavery, as enslaved people were also counted as heads for land grants. The more slaves you had, the more land you could acquire. This is called heads rights. Let's go back to 1621 to this African in America by the name of Anthony Johnson. Anthony Johnson was a man from Angola. That's Queen Nzinga. It's the same time frame. You see that? Queen Nzinga was still shipping those bodies out in 1619, 1618. The San Juan Batista was full of Angolans headed towards Mexico, remember? Until they was attacked by the White Lion. And they snatched 60 of them and only brought 20 to Fort Comfort, Virginia. And out of that, 20 people brought to Fort Comfort, Virginia in 1619. How do you think Anthony Johnson got his ass here? I'm about to tell you. Colony of Virginia, he held as an indentured servant in 1621. He earned his freedom after several years and was granted land. How did he get this land grant? Well, I just showed you about the heads rights. And the more slaves you got, the more land you get. He later became a tobacco farmer. So what were they doing when they got here? Operating in fucking trade and commerce, becoming entrepreneurs. He later became a tobacco farmer in the province of Maryland. He attained great wealth. After completing his 7-year term. This was not slavery. This system continued. There's no such thing as slavery as they're teaching you guys. Your people were under what's called a bond. Let's continue. I'm show you about this in a second. Just stay with him. He attained great wealth at completing his 7-year contract, and he has been referred to as the Black Patriarch. Y'all know what that means? Anthony Johnson was the black patriarch of the first community of Negro property owners. Not Tulsa, Oklahoma. Sorry. These Africans came over here, worked their butt off to acquire land, and he became the patriarch of a community of Africans who were in America owning land. So to hell with your African theory of slavery. It was not like that, family. There's no such thing. They were lying to you. The people you see out in cotton fields, those are called sharecroppers. They're actually farmers. Those were just farmers. Those were just farmers. Well, they were on the plantation. Wasn't that called the big house? That Massa sat in the big house? Massa was a planter. And Massa took out all those damn loans from the bank for this land. Because now Massa is a formidable person who has this land. Then he has to work the land to produce the money to pay back the bank. So his employees, the employees who work on the plantation, and I can show you that slaves and employees are the same exact freaking thing. I can show you that right now. So Anthony Johnson was the black patriarch of the first community of Negro property owners in America. This is an African in America owning other Negroes. And he wasn't the only one. I can show you several other Negroes who owned Negroes too. It was a way of life. Okay, not even own. They didn't own the physical person, the physical body. They had a bond. Watch this. Jalen. Sorry, guys. My daughter's in there. That's a big bond. Hold on. All right. A bit bond can refer to two different concepts, either a proposed type government bond, like a U.S. Treasury bond, that bases use Bitcoin. That's not what we're talking about. They bring up Bitcoin. Bit bond. The company, a German company, offers peer-to-peer lending technology. That's not what we're doing either. Oh my God, hold on. Here we go right here. Bit bonds function similarly to the traditional U.S. government bonds. They're essentially treasuries, debt securities issued by the state to raise funds at a lower interest rate, other as a coupon rate other than market rate. It's called a bit bond. So when they're talking about people being in bondage, not that they were shackled, y'all dodged the fucking hijack. They were under bondage. A piece of paper, a document, the same piece of paper. Watch this. The same piece of paper you would see the slaves pull out their pocket. This was the bond. This was the receipt. This was the actual receipt. The bill of sales. Work complete. There's no outstanding debt under this bond. All right. That's what bondage meant. My people were in bondage. Yeah, they were under several bonds. I'm pretty sure somebody in the chat had somebody in your family go to jail before who had to go their bond to get them free. A piece of paper. You have to call it bondsman, right? This is the bondage. Not the chain, not the see. This is psychoneurosis. Remember that picture right here? Now when you see that picture, you know, oh, that's the San Juan Batista right there, right? Bondage. And the only reason they had those individuals bound or bond due to a condition called drapetomania. If I can spell it. There it is. They were under a condition called drapetomania. You guys ever heard of drapetomania? Write down the word drapetomania. Drapetomania was a pseudoscientific, I mean, it wasn't, pseudoscience was crazy back then, but it was a pseudoscientific mental illness invented in 1851 by Dr. Samuel Cartwright to pathologize enslaved Black people in innate desire to escape bondage, framing flight from slavery as a disease rather than the resistance, a concept rooted in racist ideology to justify slavery and later reproposed to criticize systematic racism. Cartwright describes symptoms like insensibility to pain and dullness, suggested cures like whipping and toe amputation. But the term faded with slavery when slavery ended, with slavery's end, only to resurface as a symbol of scientific racism and modern critiques of racial bias in medicine. Drapetomania. That's why you see them with chains on, because them niggas know that they were not supposed to be there. I'm about to go home. I'm running away. And the urge of them wanting to run away was classified as drapetomania, a mental condition of wanting to be free. That's what you're seeing in those photos. That's what you're seeing in them fucking pictures when they got the chains on. Those are not the slaves, family. Those are the ones who kept running away. They kept running away. That's why they had to shackle them down like that. They wanted to be free, like these Negroes out here in this field. They will run away. You seen the movie Life? How many times Eddie Murphy them ran away? They were diagnosed with drapetomania after being caught so many times. You see that? Those are not the slaves. Now you're going to see this right here. These people are just at work. They're at work. At work. Working. At work. Not slaving. Working. Not slaving. Working. Working very hard. And getting cheated out their money too. Nah, those were slaves. No, they're at work. What's the difference? Being at work and being enslaved? Enslavement is the system. It's the perpetuated system. It's the social system that existed. That's slavery. But these are not slaves. That's a mama and his kids out there, and dad look like he pissed off about something. They probably mad because they got to take a fucking picture. Like, what? Nigga, we working. Take a picture for what? What are we taking a picture for? All right, y'all all get together now. Take this quick picture. Acres and acres and acres of cotton. Acres of it. Those people are working, picking cotton. Those are sharecroppers, or what they call tenant farmers. What's the difference? Huge difference. They were under debt bonds. Debt bonds. See, little girl out there? They're working. It's not what they portray in the movie, but they're just at work, picking cotton, working. And I'm saying it that way because I want you guys to really understand, like, if I drove past your job and you was hard at work, I took a picture of you and put it in black and white, you would look real slavish too. Because being a slave and being an employee is the same thing. Watch this. And I teach the same shit over and over. I just try to teach it so you guys can really get it. Like, oh, now it makes sense. This is Special Field Order number 3. General George Granger. This is your Juneteenth BS. Okay, let me blow it up some. This is what's giving you the Juneteenth holiday right here. Let's read it out loud together, shall we? The people are informed that in accordance with the proclamation of the executive of the United States that all slaves are free, period. The period stops right there. You can celebrate, you can cook out, eat your watermelon, whatever you're going to do on Juneteenth, or let's keep reading. This involves an absolute equality of personal rights and rights of property, comma. That's talking to the plantation owner. Between the former master and slave, the connection herefore existed between them become that of employer and hired labor. Let's read it one more time for the people in the back that don't know what the hell going on. Let's read one more time. This involves an absolute equality of personal rights and rights of property between former masters and slaves, and the connection herefore existed between them become that between employer and hired labor. The freed are advised to remain in their present home. They're talking about the free Negroes who were not slaves. Y'all are advised to stay in y'all house. But the connection between master and slave, see right there? Let me highlight it for you right here so you guys can see it real good. Between former master and slave, the connection herefore exists between them become that of what? Employer and hired labor. So when I tell you those people in the fields picking cotton were just at work, believe what I'm saying. They're just employees. Not they're people, but they're employees at this point in history, okay? Okay, y'all, this is the 1830s. The earlier information of Anthony Johnson in 1621 to 1830, a lot has changed with labor laws. There are no labor laws still, but a lot has changed from indentured servitude, voluntarily doing a contract, to involuntarily doing a contract. And that's what our people suffered from, was enslavement. The system is what injured our people. The system of enslavement, not that they were slaves. They were never freaking slaves. They were enslaved. Enslaved meaning absorbed in a system, a geopolitical system. They're regular people. There's nothing wrong with them. They're regular people. Oh, they couldn't read and write, and they couldn't read or write. Why couldn't they read or write? Schools for black people have been around for a long time. Watch this. The first colonial school for blacks. It's called the Williamsburg Bray School. Write this shit down right now. I'm not going to go into the whole history of the HBCUs and how they started and the Moral Act and the land grant colleges, which I really could tie it all in for you, but we don't have time tonight. This is an all-black school. Not Hampton University, not Howard University, not Bethune-Cookman, not FAMU, but Williamsburg Bray School was the very first all-black institution. The very first in these colonies for black folk, or people of color, or Negroes, or Indians. The Williamsburg Bray School operated from 1760 to 1774. Why did it stop at 1774? Could it be because of the Revolutionary War? Yep, that was it. Revolutionary War was happening. In Virginia, it recognized as one of the earliest formal institutions for educating free and enslaved Negroes. 1760, there were free black people in 1760. Absolutely. We've been free for a long time. We never were, First school, it says, the first one, recognized as the one of, meaning there were others, one of the earliest formal institution for educating free and enslaved black children in North America, established by London's Angelic-based Association of Dr. Bray to provide religious instructions, literacy skills like needlework, with its building now serving as a museum. Other early Bray schools also opened in Philadelphia in 1758, in New York in 1760 by the same organization, though the Williamsburg location is the oldest standing building. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. Quit all that nonsense. Negroes, slaves couldn't read or write. What are y'all talking about? What are they talking about? What are y'all talking about? You know what I'm saying? Like, what are they talking about? Oh, hold on, my bad. I ain't looking at the chat. My fault. What bro said? What happened to you and Chrome TV will appear? Yeah, Chrome, my man, pots and pans. Yeah, for sure, for sure. Very fucking busy. If you guys follow like my chef stuff, y'all, I be 100 miles an hour, fam. Like it's just by the grace of Allah that I'm here right now talking to y'all at this time of night. I need to take my ass to bed. But yeah, it didn't happen, bro. We man, Chrome, my man, 10 toes down. Y'all have to remember that. Y'all have to remember that Crom was that's my man, pots and pans, like 100 grand, 10 toes down for sure. Me and Crom deeper than just social media and going live. Like this man, we brothers. This man on side of my feet and learned as a student when I first started, and I on side of his feet and learned from him as well. Like we both master students of each other, so it's love for real. I just been busy though, bro. Great question. I appreciate that. Me and Chroma connect at some point this year. We might do another Juneteenth event or something for Black History Month. I don't know yet. But this is the oldest Black institution. It's called the Williamsburg Bray School. I just wanted to point that out to you guys so you guys can see what's going on. And then there were other colleges that were integrated. Like there were integrated schools before the 1960s, way before. The New York African Free School, preparing young Black students for freedom, was a complicated task when the New York African Free School was first created in 1787, a time when many African American residents of the city were slaves. Let's read it one more time. The New York African Free School, preparing young Black students for freedom, was complicated task when the New York African Free School was first created in 1787, a time where many African American residents of the city were slaves. Crazy work. This is the first Black college, Cheney University, institution of colored youth by the Quaker Richard Humphrey in 1837. We've been reading and writing for a long time, family. That was just something that they implemented for the Negroes of the Southern theater to keep them from understanding law and civics. That didn't work either. That shit didn't work either because you had many other. I won't even go into the prostrate states of South Carolina. Was all Negro ran the whole entire South in the 1800s. Like we that's another show. But what I do want to show you guys something real quick before we get out of here. We talked about the numbers. We know that there was 5 million Indians shipped, 5 million Native Americans shipped out of America, and there were only 388,000 Africans brought to North America. I'm not concerned about Mexico. I'm not concerned about South America, Central America. Respectfully, I'm not concerned about the islands either. I'm only talking about the 48 colonies of the United States of America. 388,000 Africans total, and we're giving them those numbers, but 3 times as many, 4 times as many indigenous Americans were shipped out of America. Think about that for a second. That's crazy as hell. I misspelled the hell out of that shit. The second domestic slave trade, write that down, also known as the second Middle Passage. So anytime anybody out of African theory talks about the whole Middle Passage, ask them, what about the second Middle Passage? And just watch their face. Because the first Middle Passage had to end by 1808, family. There was no cotton in 1808. Tobacco and rice, lots of tobacco, lots of rice in the Carolina colonies. And those colonies were established under King Charles II. Okay. The second domestic slave trade, also known as the internal slave trade or second Middle Passage, was the forced migration for over 388,000 Africans, for over 470,000 Africans. No, millions of enslaved people within the United States, the upper South to the deep South between the American Revolution and the Civil War, between 1774 and 1865. Between 1774 and 1865, it says. That's when the Civil War, 65, and the American Revolutionary War, 74. Now we understand the Moorish Science Temple, when Noble Drew Ali is telling us that Black, Negro, and color are all titles given to us by slaveholders in 1774, and it lasted to about 1865. But this is a new era in time where you must proclaim your free national name and worship under your own vine and fig tree. Islam, it's right here, 1774 to 1865. 1779 was the first U.S. Census, when they started to declare you under those allodial titles of Black, Negro, and color, etc., all the way through to African American. Hope this should make sense to y'all. Background context: abolition of the transatlantic slave trade. The U.S. Constitution allowed for the abolishing, of international slave trade, which officially ended in 1808. No other bodies were shipped over here in 1800 nothing after 08. Cotton economy boom with the invention in the 1790s by Eli Whitney. We know that he stole that fucking invention. King Cotton, the growth of the cotton industry transformed a new nation into economic world leader, with labor provided by domestically trading enslaved populations, forming a cornerstone for this economy. So they basically took the same formula they had back in the 1600s with indentured servitude, but because it had been perverted by people like Anthony Johnson, and we'll get into later how he perverted the idea of indentured servitude all the way down to chattel slavery by going to court, by taking them to court. I think John Punch and two other individuals. One he had white slaves too, and a Negro slave. But John Punch was the first African enslaved for life in the colonies. John Punch. Write down John Punch, please. Look up John Punch. Punch, just like it sounds. The forced migration between 1790 and 1860, more than 1 million enslaved men, women, and children were forcibly sold and moved from Africa, Angola, Tanzania, Congo. No, silly. They were moved from Maryland, Virginia, Kentucky, North Carolina to the deep South, Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, Louisiana. The enslaved were often marched hundreds of miles to their destination on foot. Slave ships. No, on foot. Slave ships. No, they chained their ass up and walked them down I-20 and I-95. They walked them down. They walked, nigga, like the monks are walking. The use of steamboats, slave ships. No, steamboats. No, slave ships. You guys say slave ships. Okay, slave ships. The use of steamboats and later railways modernized the process, but the brutal remains the same. Family separation. One of the most devastating effects was the systematic separation of families, not the fact that you came from Africa from your tribe, but the fact that your Black families and tribes here in North America were torn apart. One of the most devastating effects was the system of separating the families. Historians estimate that about half of all enslaved people of the Upper South were separated from parents or child, and a third of marriages were destroyed by forced migration. A third of Black marriages were destroyed by forcibly migrating Negroes in the domestic slave trade. This is the slave trade that fucked your people up, not the African slave trade. It was this one that forced your people to march. It was this one that got the kids sold. It was this one that gave birth to movies like Django, 12 Years a Slave, Roots. This slave trade is the only freaking slave trade that you need to focus on. Then you start learning about the tribes, the Blackfoot, the Creek, the Crow, the Yamacraw, Chief Tuscaloosa, and you begin to learn about the Yamacraw, and begin to learn about the Seminole, and you begin to learn about the Coweta. This is when you learn that part of history. We can't keep clinging to the African history. That's not your history. The African history is no more your history than, I don't fucking know, than nothing else. You might as well just believe the Bible and the Hebrews, and that you were a Hebrew and you were in Egypt for 400 years. You might as well just believe that too then. And stop saying slavery was 400 years. This country is only 270 years old, family. There is no 400-year history of America. It does not exist. Oh, I mean, from like chattel slavery to the civil rights, you niggas. Come on, man. Y'all cut it out. Cut it out. Cut it out. I really do hope that this bless y'all tonight, because I'm about to get up out of here. But listen, man. Africans in America. Africans in America, not African Americans. These are not who you think they are. And I'm showing you guys the historicity. I'm breaking it down. I'm showing you guys there are different groups of so-called Black people in North America. Some are Africans who came here. Definitely, for sure. I'm not doubting that. We saw it was 470,000 that came here. But 5 million of your people got put out of here first for them to come here. Okay? Keep that in mind. It's nothing, it's all a tragedy, and my heart goes out to the transatlantic slave trade. But we're going to talk about the 5 million Indians that got put out of here first. Let's talk about the 5 million got put out first. We talk about your little 470 in a second. Now you got the numbers to talk to these people who think that everybody came from Africa. Just saying, only 388,000 survived. That's really it. And them 20 that came to Hampton, and the 100 that came to Florida by way of Spain. So we'll give them the 100, and we'll give them the 20, and throw another 100 up there if you want to. Make it a cool 500,000 if you want to. But still 5 million Indians got put out of America first. So let's talk about that shit first. Let's talk about the millions of Black folks who got brought down from New Jersey, Philadelphia, Maryland, Virginia. Let's talk about them people who got brought down to the Carolinas and Georgia to pick cotton. Why are we talking about those people? Millions of those people, far more than Africans that came into America. And we saw that the Africans who came to North America in the 1600s were very prosperous. They were the landowners. They called them landowners. They were the patriarchs of the first community of Black landowners, were all Africans from Portugal. From Angola. So y'all feeling sorry for who? Psychoneurosis is what you're suffering from. It's a mental condition that we have due to our collective experience with foreigners. We think like them, act like them, talk like them. Xenophilia. Please, y'all. Have these conversations, man. Talk to your people, man. Now you are equipped with the when, the where, and the who. Only speak that way. Don't start talking barbershop talk about, Africans were brought over here from. I'm gonna ask your ass, who brought them over here? What you mean? What ship were they on? They got here. If you can't give me something. The Nina, the Pinta, the Santa Maria, give me the White Lion, give me the San Juan Batista, give me Amistad, give me one of the ship names, give me what company brought them over here. Was it the Royal African Company? Was it the Virginia Company? Was it the You see how you can do that now? Based on this conversation we're having tonight, you can start calling out those companies that brought them over here. You can put names to those companies. You can put dates to those companies. You can now differentiate the 388,000 Africans, where they came from, who gave them away. We didn't get into Sir Francis Drake in the good ship Jesus, commissioned by Queen Elizabeth. He was the first contracted privateer to bring Africans over here for Britain. Now we're talking about government contracts. More bonds. Nobody ever told y'all that you was under a bondage situation. That's why they asked for your freedom papers. You never made the connection that a freedom paper was a damn receipt. You thought they actually wrote on a piece of paper free them? No, it was a bill of sales that was stamped. Those slave catchers along the back roads were like the motherfuckers at Walmart at the door with the receipts. Give me your receipt. You ain't got a receipt to take TV back. You never made that connection? When you see these movies and they ask for your freedom papers and they go in their pocket and pull out their freedom papers, it was a fucking receipt. And master had to sign it, like all debts or this bond is signed, like a judge sign a bond to get your uncle or whoever out of jail, get bonded out. It has to be signed by a bondsman. Same shit. Now, in the case of the Moors, you see in this picture on the screen with the head wrap on, those are Moors. Those are Moorish slaves on a Spanish ship called the San Juan Bautista out of Spain. These same people you see in this picture on the Amistad situation with the chains on, just 37 years prior, they were ruling Spain. Huh? Under the 1491 Papal Bull into Catera Cavina, they lost their crowns. Man, we'll be here all night, family. But listen, man, peace and love. Thank y'all for tapping in. I promise you I'm gonna do this more often. I just been busy, man. I felt like I wanted to get on here tonight and just, pop my shit real quick. And I'm so glad you guys tapped in. Be sure to share this, man. Be sure to share this whole live. This is Hampton University, by the way. This picture right here. This is the Hampton Indian Institute. Hampton Indian Institute. Look at all those Indians in there. Y'all see them Indians? Look at the little dark-skinned Indian girl in the back on the right-hand side with their plate in their hand. So dark-skinned, so pretty. Beautiful. Hampton Indian Institute. This is just like that freedom school in New York. They were teaching them Negroes how to be free. Remember the school we just saw? The New York Freedom School in 17, whatever the fuck that said. Remember? This is later on the DeMoore Land Grant College. This wasn't the first one though. Before they had the Hampton Indian Institute. Y'all got me back to talking now. Hold on. Before they had the Indian Institute, let me show you another one real quick. Well, let's see that first though. I said it backwards. Let's see if you still give it to me though. Yep. The Hampton Indian Institute refers to a pioneer Indian training school program in Hampton Normal and Agriculture Institute, now Hampton University, HBCU. 1,400 Native American students from 65 tribes, focusing on industrial and vocational skills, and served as a complex social experiment in racial interaction and a simulation with its influence Hampton model, impacting broader U.S. Indian education policies until the end of 1923. This is the Hampton Indian Institute. Look. These babies over here. I'm going to leave this shit on the screen. Let y'all look at it. Y'all are not from Africa. Stop acting crazy. I know they got the pyramid. We got pyramids too. What they got, we ain't got. We got gold too. We got more gold than they got actually. What Africa got that you ain't got over here? Why are you so in love with Africa? And it's not a diss to Africa, by the way. I'm not dissing Africa, but Africa is so freaking undeveloped. It's new. Africa is new. That's why they're still trying to develop it. Okay, this is older over here. Maybe in 400 more years, the continent will be developed. The whole entire, and Europeans are trying their best to develop it quick as they can. They still in shit too, but they're trying to get it up to par. Africa is behind the 8 ball, literally. That place is not that old. Look at them little chocolate babies. Look at the brother, 1, 2, 3, in the third picture, teaching them about pyramids. That's a brother up there teaching them. Hampton Indian Institute. Look at them, the little black baby right there, the last picture in the middle. Y'all see him? Y'all see the little melanated children in there? And I ain't saying nothing about it. I put the Hampton Indian Institute in there. And that's what they were called, Indians at first. Colored folks. Colored people. Negroes. Right here. Okay. All right. I just want to make sure y'all see that shit. Okay. Because what's his name? Howard, what was it called? Orphan. Institute. Oh, it's called Asylum. I'm sorry, y'all. Here we go. Write this down too. Write down the Howard Orphan Asylum. Howard College. This is where Howard University come from. This is the beginning of Howard University. If anybody went to Howard University, HU. This is the beginning. This is before they open up that school for light-skinned children in DC. This ain't got nothing to do with light-skinned kids. These is just abandoned Negro children. Y'all talk about the Cabbage Patch train with the abandoned white kids. I talk about these abandoned black children. Thousands of them. Just why were they abandoned in 1868? Why were these abandoned? Remember earlier the domestic slave trade tore apart black families, children, women, and they said they mama them down south somewhere working somewhere. It's a bunch of kids. The Howard Orphan Asylum, officially the Howard Colored Orphan Asylum, later Howard Orphanage Industrial School, was a crucial African-American run. Dodge the hijack, how they go from colored to African-American. They do it right in your face. They don't even try. Then they say black, and they say, watch this. They called you, they called your ass colored, they called you African-American, and they call you black. All in the same paragraph, and you just read it like it's fucking normal. That your designation of classification changed 3 times in front of your face, and you just keep reading like it nothing happened. That's insanity. The Howard Orphan Asylum, officially Howard Colored Orphan Asylum, later Howard Orphanage and Industrial School, was a crucial African-American run institution founded in Brooklyn, New York around 1866 to 68, serving destitute black children, meaning they just destitute, they're orphans, with industrial training and care. They taught them skill sets. Remember that earlier school in 1700s, the earlier Williamsburg school that taught those kids religion and how to sew? Same thing happening. You got to be industrial to be over here. You got to be doing something, okay? Training and care, named partly for General Oliver Howard, the same founder of Howard University, and operating until its closure in 1918 after a severe winter incident led to the shutdown. Transformation into a fund for black education. General O. Howard of Howard University first established this institution for young black children. Now, I'm gonna wrap it up. If you read on about this institution. You showed them at the age of 16. Matter of fact, let me show you. Fuck it. So it started in Weeksville. That's something you should know. If you guys know about James Weeksville, press 111 in the chat if you know who James Weeks is. Press 000 if you have no idea who the fuck James Weeks is. 111 if you've heard of James Weeks. 000 if you've never heard of James Weeks. But this becomes important because this institution was started in Weeksville. Thank you for putting zeros. Thank you. Let's so Weeksville. We'll come back to the Howard Institution. James Weeksville. This is a brother. This is a black man. This is before Tulsa, Oklahoma. James Weeks was a free black stevedore. That means he worked on ships. He was like a merchant marine, a merchant seaman. Stevedore. He was a black stevedore, free man. 1838, he purchased land in Brooklyn, New York, laying the foundation for Weeksville, one of the first and largest free black communities in the United States. One, because there's several more. This is Tulsa, Oklahoma is 1921. This is way before Tulsa. I'm gonna show you another one that's way before Tulsa too. Get it out of your head. We was just fucking picking cotton and running around looking crazy, y'all. We was really running America. One day I'm gonna just do a 4-hour lecture and show you how we really just was running shit back then. And they didn't reconstruct the history to make you think you was just picking cotton. And you couldn't read. And you was, yes, Abba. No, you were not talking like that and acting like you. No, you were not. You were running entire governments before the Europeans came here. Okay? They just had an interaction with the 5 trader tribes, they call them. These are the traders, the ones who benefited the most from dealing with these Europeans. The 5 civilized tribes duped the rest of the tribes. But outside of that, kingdoms over here. Okay? Empires, cities, municipalities already set up over here. These Europeans didn't build shit. They told you that. It was already here when they got here. They just usurped and occupied the shit. Yes, Seneca Village is another one. But this is one of the largest black free communities in the United States called Weeksville. Today they call it Bedford-Stuyvesant or Brooklyn. Established by a black man who bought the land from another black man. Talk to me. Talk black to me. He bought the land from another black man in New York. Okay, bought it. Let's talk about another one real quick. Mound Bayou, Mississippi. Mound Bayou, Mississippi. This is 1887, way before Tulsa, Oklahoma. Isaiah T. Montgomery, a black self-sufficient boasting its own business bank, boasting its own businesses, banks, hospitals, and schools, earning the nickname the Jewel of the Delta. Isaiah T. Montgomery. You might want to write him down. I know I mentioned him a couple times throughout my lectures and stuff like that. There you go. The founder of Mound Bayou. Talk to me. Way before Tulsa, Oklahoma. See, this is the part that people don't really be studying. They just be fucking parakeeting and repeating shit people be saying, because then they talk about, Tulsa, Oklahoma. And you're like, nigga, yeah, Tulsa had the blueprint from Mound Bayou. Tulsa had the blueprint from Weeksville. You know? Mound Bayou. Now, this was right here was an interesting fellow right here, Isaiah T. Montgomery. This is going to sling. If you read this right here and go into this history, he was a Republican, a community leader, and the founder of an all-black community, Mississippi Constitution. He participated in the 1890 Mississippi Constitutional Convention. He was a delegate for Boulevard County. He has been described as Mississippi Booker T. Washington. He's also known as I.T. Montgomery. Isaiah Thornton Montgomery, born May 21st, 1847 in Davis Island, Mississippi. He was born into slavery. He was born as a slave. No, he was born into the system of slavery. Yes, Mississippi tribes, original bound builders, and yes. He didn't come up with the fucking name Mound Bayou. He didn't come up with that name. The mound was already there. Come on. All those mounds in the Mississippi Delta? Yes. Same relation. Thank you, Payola. He was born into slavery. His son of Mary Lewis Montgomery and Ben Montgomery, who were enslaved by Joseph Emory Davis. Now, Joseph Emory Davis is the father of Jefferson Davis, who becomes the president of the Confederacy. That's who Joseph Emory Davis is. And at the Hurricane Plantation at Davis Bend, they had a second son, William Thornton Montgomery. His father, Ben, had been promoted to overseer. I thought the white man was the overseer. No, this Negro is the manager of this hemp plantation. Isaiah T. Montgomery, daddy, was the overseer or supervisor, manager, HINC. The Montgomery children learned to read and write due to their father's influential position. But they were slaves. Slaves were reading and writing. I thought slaves couldn't read or write. I thought it was forbade for them to read and write. These children was fucking reading and writing. Plantation, because Davis wanted to establish more positive working environment for slaves to encourage education. I'm about to go because I feel like y'all not fucking getting this shit. They were not slaves. They were not just out there just slaving all day. They were learning. They were being educated. They were being treated right because the president of the South, father, Mr. Davis, wanted a better positive environment for them to work in. Let them learn. Let them read. As long as they fucking work, I don't care. Montgomery married Martha Robb. They had 11 children, and their daughter, Mary Claudine Montgomery Booz, was a political organizer. They were slaves, they were politicians, they were landowners, they were founders, they were doing all kind of cool shit. As farmers cleared land, they started cultivating cotton. Montgomery worked, gained his freedom, paid off the debt, gained his freedom, protection of the law, and kept their work and lives separate from supervised by whites. As farmers, as slaves, as farmers cleared land, they started cultivating cotton. Montgomery worked to gain his freedom, protection of the law, and to keep their work and lives separate from those white folks. Montgomery and Green donated land. Whew, Lord. These niggas are working on the land and giving land away to set up towns. I tell y'all, these were not the pictures they be showing y'all. They're just working. They're just at work. They're the farmers. They own the land. These white folks didn't know how to do shit on this territory. White people just got it together with the USDA. They just figured out agriculture. Okay? It takes a long time to figure out agriculture of a territory you're not used to being in. Okay? 1887, they just got out west. They just figured out fucking pineapples, okay? Like they don't know what they can grow here. But these black farmers, these black farmers, Montgomery and Green donated land for the creation of the campus for Mound Bayou Normal Institute in 1887. It's a black college, y'all. It's another one. Founded. Montgomery attended Mississippi's 1890 Constitutional Convention as its only black Republican delegate. Convened in Jackson, Mississippi in August, the convention drafted a new constitution which was designed to secure white dominant state politics, including the adoption of a understanding clause, which required any, hold on, I can't read this right here, which require any prospective voter to be able to read, to interpret any section of the state constitution with little ability to challenge. Montgomery accepted the clause, arguing that while was apparent of unfriendliness to blacks, it was a public interest to prevent illiterates from voting. They agreed to put this clause, watch this, they agreed to put it in there because they didn't want illiterate people voting. He knew it would affect most of the black people because they were illiterate as well. So when they talk about the Voting Rights Act, which comes a little bit later down the road, it wasn't because they were black, it's because they were illiterate. And then in 1866, over in Galveston, Texas, those freed Negroes, as a Jubilee celebration for the newly freed Negroes under what you call Juneteenth, they assembled political rallies to teach them how to read so they'd be able to vote. This illiterate shit affected a lot of white people too who couldn't read and write. It affected a lot of people. Unless you was a landowner. You had to be a landowner and read and write. All right. I'm done. Y'all got the point. All right, family. I'm about to wrap up this time for real, man. Listen, man, I appreciate y'all, man. I know this it's heavy. It's a lot. It's a lot to just absorb and think about and deal with. But do your best, family, okay, to do some more research, dodge the hijack on what they've been telling you about America, about these so-called black people in America. These are, that picture's cruddy, but these are Africans in America. We've been here. We've been here. Peace and love to the tribe. Peace and love to the family. Roll that corn, man. Appreciate y'all. Love y'all. Peace and love.
Who taught you to hate the texture of your hair? Who taught you to hate the color of your skin to such extent that you bleach to get like the white man?